What if you could make her think about you nonstop without ever chasing her? What if, instead of being the one trying to prove your worth, you became the man she couldn't stop thinking about? The truth is, obsession isn't sparked by money or looks. It's triggered by understanding. Let me say this right from the beginning. Women aren't as mysterious as you've been told. Once you understand the psychology behind their emotions, behaviors, and hidden desires, everything changes. You'll start to see that getting a woman obsessed with you has little to do with being rich, handsome, or overly nice. It's not about playing the role of a perfect gentleman. It's about knowing how her mind works. And in this video, that's exactly what I'm going to teach you. Welcome back, gentlemen. Today we're diving deep into one of the most powerful and controversial aspects of modern dating: how to use female psychology not just to make a woman like you, but to make her obsess over you. And I don't mean mild curiosity or surface level attraction. I'm talking about the kind of obsession that keeps you circling in her thoughts, first thing in the morning, last thought at night, and every quiet moment in between. The kind of emotional pull that flips the dynamic and puts you in control not through manipulation, but through clarity. Let me make this clear. This isn't about tricking anyone. It's about awareness. It's about understanding the subtle psychological switches that most men ignore and most women aren't even consciously aware of. These are patterns hardwired into emotional psychology. They aren't gimmicks. They aren't cheesy pickup lines. What I'm about to share are 7 psychological triggers that tap directly into a woman's subconscious emotional framework. And once you activate those triggers, something powerful happens. She doesn't just notice you. She begins to crave your attention. She begins to question why she's thinking about you so often. You're no longer just another guy. You become a puzzle she wants to solve. Most men waste years chasing women who hardly give them a second glance. But after this video, you'll understand exactly what sparks real, lasting obsession and how to trigger it naturally without acting fake or needy. So pay close attention, because once you internalize these 7 psychological techniques, the way you interact with women and the way they respond to you will never be the same. Let's start with the first and perhaps most misunderstood tactic. Ignore her beauty, praise her mind. The average guy makes the same mistake over and over again. He meets an attractive woman and immediately blurts out some variation of, "Wow, you're so beautiful," or "You're the most stunning woman I've ever seen." Sounds flattering, right? But here's the catch. She's heard that line 1,000 times. Attractive women are constantly complimented on their looks. It means nothing to them. It barely registers. In fact, it can actually backfire. When you focus on her appearance, you instantly join the lineup of forgettable guys who stroke her ego and fade into the background. She already knows she's attractive. You're just confirming what everyone else already tells her. But if you want to stand out, if you want to linger in her mind after the conversation ends, then here's your move. Ignore her beauty and praise her brain. Compliment her thoughts. Notice the way she interprets things, the way her mind works, her take on something meaningful. It's rare for women to feel truly seen beyond the surface. Most men are so consumed by what's on the outside, they completely overlook the depth behind her words. And that's exactly where your advantage lies. Let's say she shares an interesting opinion about a book, a business, or even a social idea. If you zero in on that and respond with curiosity, admiration, or genuine insight, she'll feel something she doesn't often feel: valued for her intelligence. And that, my friend, is where the obsession quietly begins. When you shift the focus from her looks to her mind, something inside her begins to shift too suddenly. She starts to wonder what it is about her that you're truly drawn to. You look her straight in the eye and say something like, "You know, most people don't even think that way." Or, "I can tell you actually pay attention to details others miss." And just like that, boom, it hits her differently. Because that's not the kind of compliment she hears every day. It reaches into her identity, not just her image. It says, "I see the part of you that's hidden beneath the surface." And that feeling, it's powerful. It makes her curious. It makes her crave more. Because the moment you stop giving her the kind of validation she gets from everyone else and start appreciating what others overlook, you become unforgettable. She starts chasing your approval, not because you're playing games, but because you've activated something deeper, something she doesn't know how to easily control. And that kind of emotional pull, that's where obsession quietly begins. This is where a concept called value reversal kicks in. Most guys act like they've won a prize when a woman shows interest. But when you hold your own energy and make her feel like catching your attention is the real win, you flip the script. Suddenly, you're not just another guy hoping for her time, you're the one she wants to impress. You're the one she's thinking about. You're not fawning over her like the rest. You're different. And here's the twist. When you finally do compliment her appearance, it lands 10 times harder. Imagine you've already built a deep connection, shown interest in her thoughts, her insights, her worldview, and then, in passing, you say, "By the way, you're also stunning." That single line, because it comes from someone she respects, carries the weight of real validation. Not flattery, respect, attention, depth. That's the difference. So don't just praise what's obvious, feed the part of her that she hides from the world. That's where obsession takes root. Now let's talk about something most guys get completely wrong. Number 2, pull away when she wants you close. This one messes with her head in a way that's both subtle and deeply effective. Because most men follow the emotional script they think they're supposed to. When a woman starts showing interest, more texts, more calls, maybe a little clinginess, they think, "Finally, I've got her. I need to match her energy so she doesn't lose interest." And so they go all in. More replies, more time, more attention. But that's the moment when you shouldn't lean in. That's the moment to create space, not disappear, not ghost. Just become slightly less available than she expects. That tiny bit of emotional distance, that unreturned text, the delay in making plans, the silence when she expected noise creates tension. And that tension is everything. Women don't obsess over men who are always around. They obsess over the ones who make them feel something. And emotional tension, uncertainty's the hook. Predictability kills desire. But when she starts to feel like she almost has you, but not quite, that's when her thoughts start spinning. She wonders if she did something wrong. She questions whether you're still interested. She replays conversations in her mind. And all of that without you doing anything more than creating just enough space for her to miss you. It's not about manipulation, it's about balance. When she pulls in, don't push back. Let her feel the space. Let her chase the mystery. Because obsession isn't built on comfort, it's built on curiosity. And curiosity always grows in silence. That feeling of not being fully available, it lingers. And the more she senses your calm restraint, the deeper she falls into curiosity. She starts asking herself, did I do something wrong? Why can't I stop thinking about him? Congratulations, at that point, you're living rent-free in her mind. Most men panic at this stage. They think pulling back will ruin the progress they've made. But what they don't realize is that this is where the real power lies. When you resist the urge to smother her with attention and instead stay grounded in your own energy, you show her something rare. A man who has options, a man who isn't emotionally dependent, a man who enjoys her company but doesn't cling to it. That energy, it's intoxicating. It doesn't mean you become distant or cold. It means you remain in control. You set the pace. You don't rush just because she's leaning in. You don't validate every feeling she shares. You don't drop everything when she sends a message. You remain composed, centered, quietly mysterious. That emotional distance has subtle but intentionalis, what keeps her coming back, wanting more. And here's where the magic happens. When you do show warmth, when you do give her attention, it hits differently. It's no longer expected or routine. It feels genuine, like a rare gift, not a desperate attempt. That contrast makes your affection powerful. Pulling away when she starts to lean in creates emotional gravity. She begins to invest more, trying to figure you out, trying to win back what feels slightly out of reach. And that's the sweet spot where her focus locks onto you completely. Now, let's take it a step further. Number 3, make her jealous. Subtly. I know, it's a sensitive subject. A lot of guys get uncomfortable even hearing the word. Jealousy? Isn't that toxic? Isn't that immature? Only if it's done wrong. When used with confidence and nuance, jealousy becomes one of the strongest emotional levers you can pull. And no, it's not about playing cruel games or trying to break her down. It's about sending an unspoken message. You're not my only option. I'm a man other women naturally notice. Here's the common mistake most men make. As soon as they capture a woman's attention, they go all in. They cut off everything and everyone else, stop engaging socially, and wrap their world around her like she's already the final destination. But here's the kicker. That kind of behavior kills mystery. And with it, attraction. Deep down, women don't want a man no one else wants. They want a man who's in demand. It activates their competitive edge and deepens their desire to keep your attention. So how do you do it without being toxic? It's not about bragging. It's not about talking endlessly about other women or trying to provoke insecurity. That's immature and backfires fast. Instead, it's in your vibe. It's in the way you walk into a room and people naturally gravitate toward you. It's how you interact with others, especially women, with calm charm and zero neediness. When she sees that other women enjoy being around you, that you're socially valuable, her instincts kick in. Her mind starts racing, not with jealousy rooted in fear, but with the realization that she might lose you to someone else if she doesn't keep showing up. You don't need to say a word. Women are experts at reading subtle social dynamics. If they sense that you're desirable beyond just their gaze, it ignites something deep. You become a prize she doesn't want to share. That's not manipulation, it's positioning. And positioning, when done right, leads to obsession. As her mind spins with curiosity and desire, that subtle sense of competition you've created continues to intensify. And suddenly, she's no longer just enjoying your presence, she's trying to win it. That's the power of gentle, well-placed jealousy. It doesn't push her away, it pulls her in deeper. When done right, it doesn't create drama, it creates focus. The moment she feels that hint of jealousy, two powerful shifts occur inside her. First, she starts craving your approval again like she did at the beginning. Second, no matter how hard she tries to distract herself, She can't stop thinking about you. Her thoughts orbit around your energy, your actions, your availability. Why? Because jealousy, when activated with confidence and restraint, keeps her emotionally alert. It shakes up the pattern. It interrupts that lazy certainty and introduces just enough competition to make her feel like she needs to work for your attention again. And here's where most men ruin it: they try too hard. They force the jealousy. They brag, exaggerate, or behave in obviously manipulative ways, which instantly backfires and signals insecurity. But when that energy comes from authentic confidence, from being socially magnetic and grounded in your value, everything shifts. She goes from feeling safe and settled to feeling intrigued and slightly unsettled, and that tension is emotional glue. A woman emotionally engaged is a woman who becomes obsessed. So stay composed, stay consistent, and let her experience the feeling that she might not be the only one with options. Because the second she realizes you're not guaranteed, she'll start working to guarantee your presence in her life. Which leads to the next psychological trigger. Number 4, act like you could walk away at any time. This is not a game, it's a mindset. A man who doesn't cling, who doesn't panic at the thought of losing a woman, is a man who instantly commands respect. He's rare, he's powerful, and he becomes unforgettable. Most men, the second they receive affection or intimacy, attach themselves like it's a lifeline. They stop being grounded, stop thinking clearly, and start obsessing over how to keep her happy at all costs. They overthink, over-apologize, overgive until all their power is gone. And what happens then? The woman loses interest because she senses the shift. She knows when a man has made her the center of his emotional stability. But obsession doesn't grow from security. It grows from curiosity, challenge, and emotional mystery. Women don't become obsessed with men who can't live without them. They become obsessed with men who remain calm, composed, and fully in control of their emotions 7 if things end. That calmness is magnetic. It makes her pause. It makes her wonder what you know that she doesn't. Because suddenly, she's not the one setting the emotional tone, you are. She's not testing your reactions. You're the one deciding whether she even stays in your life. And that drives her wild. When you carry yourself like you could walk away tomorrow, you're telling her that you don't need her, you choose her. You're not chasing love to feel whole, you're whole already. And if she adds to your peace, she's welcome. If she doesn't, you'll keep moving without hesitation. That's the frame that creates obsession. It's not about being cold or arrogant. It's about holding your standard and never lowering it out of fear. It makes her invest. It makes her question. It makes her step up. Because now you're no longer the eager admirer. You're the challenge. The mystery. The man she can't quite figure out. And that's exactly what keeps you on her mind. Most women are used to men who are afraid to lose them. But you're the man she's afraid to lose. Once she senses that you're not afraid to walk away, something shifts inside her. That sense of emotional security she took for granted now feels uncertain. And that uncertainty is what makes your presence more magnetic than ever. When you show her that you won't tolerate half-effort, mixed signals, or emotional games, she begins to see you through a different lens. It's no longer about impressing her, it becomes about respecting you. She starts thinking about you when you're not around, wondering what you're doing, craving the energy you bring. She begins chasing the feeling you gave her own that's rare, grounding, and powerful. Walking away doesn't come across as a manipulation tactic. It becomes your standard, your boundary. It sends a silent but firm message. I want you, but I don't need you. And when a woman hears that without you even saying it, she leans in. She invests more of herself. Because deep down, what she truly craves isn't a man who loses himself in her. It's a man who's already complete without Hera. Man whose world is so compelling that she wants to be a part of it. That leads us to number 5. Be unpredictable. Never let her fully figure you out. There's a certain danger in being too predictable with women, not in a physical sense, but in an emotional one. The moment she feels like she has you completely figured out, the thrill begins to fade. The spark dims. That mysterious edge you had in the beginning slowly dissolves. Why? Because human nature is wired for curiosity. We are drawn to what we can't quite grasp, what keeps us guessing, and women are no different. When you bring subtle unpredictability smoothly, intentionally, and confidently, you stay on her mind in ways that even she won't understand. You create emotional tension. She finds herself wondering, what's he thinking? Why does he feel a little different today? What's going to happen next? And that emotional suspense, that curiosity eyes, where obsession grows. This isn't about playing games. It's not about being emotionally erratic or unstable. It's about breaking routine in thoughtful ways. For instance, if you always respond to her messages immediately, switch it up. Let her feel a little space. If you constantly shower her with compliments, try holding back occasionally. Let your silence speak. If you always initiate plans, take a pause and give her a chance to reach for you. That shift, however small, sends a powerful message. You're not operating from habit, you're moving with intention. Picture this. You're usually calm, deep, thoughtful, maybe even a bit serious. But then one night, you flip the script. You crack a joke, tease her a little, catch her off guard in a charming way. She laughs, maybe even blushes. But most importantly, she remembers. She lays in bed replaying that moment, not because it was grand or dramatic, but because it disrupted the rhythm in just the right way. That unexpected twist creates a new layer to your connection. Women crave emotional variety. When they can predict every move you make, they begin to emotionally detach. But when they feel like there's always a layer they haven't explored, a part of you they haven't unlocked, they lean in closer. They invest more time, more thought, and more emotion trying to decode you. And that's where real emotional obsession begins, not from being available at every turn, but from offering just enough to stay interesting and holding back just enough to stay unforgettable. That subtle unpredictability we discussed earlier, it does more than keep her curious. It invites her into a story where she's not sure how the next chapter will unfold. And that's what keeps you unforgettable. The moment you become a routine, a predictable echo of yesterday's energy, you begin to fade in her mind. Routine drains excitement and predictability turns into invisibility. But when you remain grounded in your confidence while introducing just enough variety in your presence, you become the exception. Unpredictability, when done with self-awareness, charm, and calm authority, isn't chaotic, it's captivating. It activates something ancient in her psychology, a primal instinct that connects mystery with value. So instead of showing up with the same words, reactions, and emotional tone every time, shift the rhythm just enough to keep her emotionally engaged. Let her wonder why today feels a little different. Let her feel the subtle change in tone, energy, or approach, because the moment she can't fully figure you out, she begins crafting stories in her mind. She starts imagining possibilities, analyzing details, obsessing over your silences and your glances. And when you're living in her imagination like that, it becomes almost impossible for her to let you go. Now let's go even deeper. Number 6. Trigger her competitive side with other women. Whether they admit it or not, most women are wired to compete for what they perceive as valuable, especially when that value is validated by other women. She might act cool, unaffected, or even disinterested. But when she sees that other women laugh at your jokes, lean in a little too closely, or seek out your attention, something shifts. Her guard rises not to distance herself, but to protect her position. She feels like there's something worth winning, something not fully guaranteed. And that something is you. You see, most guys get it backwards. The moment they find a woman they like, they drop every other connection, cancel their plans, and go all in. Loyalty is important, but when offered too early, without being earned, it removes challenge. It removes urgency. It tells her, you already have me, before she even realized she wanted you. And without challenge, there's no emotional spark. But when she notices that other women are drawn to your energy, that you're charming, socially aware, confident, it ignites a different instinct. Suddenly, it's not just about liking you, it's about proving something to herself. It's about standing out. Because women hate the idea of being replaceable, especially once emotions are involved. And when she sees that you have options, real and present ones, she starts operating from a different mindset. She stops being passive. She tunes in. She watches your interactions more closely. She becomes more intentional with her energy, her words, her presence. Why? Because you've reintroduced competition. You've reawakened her desire to win. But this doesn't mean flaunting other women in her face. That's immature and desperate. It's not about rubbing anything in. It's about living your life with confidence and magnetism. It's about being so naturally attractive in how you carry yourself that attention follows you. When she feels that tension, even just beneath the surface, she stops taking you for granted. She sees you as someone worth having, worth keeping, worth fighting for. And that quiet sense of competition, it does something powerful. You're no longer just a man hoping to be chosen. You're the man she wants to lock in before someone else does. You're the one she doesn't want to lose to another woman. And that's the mindset where obsession begins, not from being available, but from being valuable enough to compete for. That subtle competitive spark we discussed earlier, it shifts something deep inside her. And when you combine it with one final psychological twist, it's game over. Once a woman begins to notice that other women desire you, everything changes. You haven't done anything different, but her perception of you transforms overnight. Suddenly, you're no longer just the guy who likes her, you're the guy other women are attracted to. And if they see value in you, maybe, just maybe, there's more to you than she first realized. That realization hits an ancient instinctive part of her brain. It's the part that says, I need to stand out, I need to secure this. She starts feeling the urge to earn her place beside you. And in that mental space, something powerful begins to grow: obsession. Let's now explore the seventh and final psychological trigger. Give her your attention, then take it away. This is one of the most powerful forces in modern dating and one of the most misunderstood. Too many men make the same fatal mistake. They get a little attention from a woman and suddenly flood her with validation, compliments, time, and nonstop communication. It's like a faucet they can't shut off. Their intentions may come from a sincere place, But what they don't realize is that giving someone everything all at once with no pause is the fastest way to make that energy feel worthless. Why? Because there's no contrast, no tension, no gap for her to wonder, to miss, to crave. Think about it. What happens when you hear the same sound every day? You stop noticing it. It becomes background noise. The same thing happens with men who are constantly present, constantly giving, constantly trying. There's no emotional impact, no space for desire to build. You've been told your whole life to always be there, always be nice, always show her how much you care. And yes, kindness matters, but predictability, emotional neediness, and over-accessibility, that's what makes her tune out. Attention without scarcity has no weight. What truly makes a woman obsessed is the contrast, the wave of your energy when you're fully present, followed by the unexpected moment when you're not. It's that emotional whiplash that makes your presence valuable. It's the rhythm of closeness and distance that creates emotional depth. It's when she feels deeply seen, then suddenly wonders why your energy shifted. That space, that's where her thoughts multiply. That's where her imagination runs wild. And yet, most men never give her that chance. They're too busy filling every silence, texting first every time, initiating every hangout, trying to prove they caress, scared that one missed message might cost them the whole connection. Ironically, it's this constant pursuit that makes her lose interest. Not because you're doing too little, but because you're doing too much with no break. So here's your wake-up call. Stop being afraid to step back. Stop letting her response dictate your energy. You are not reacting to her emotions. You are the source of the emotional experience. You create the highs and the lows. You give her a powerful moment of connection, and then you go quiet. Not out of spite, but out of control. You return to your life, your mission, your rhythm. And in that silence, she starts to wonder. She replays the last conversation. She rereads the last message. She waits for your next move. And that tension, that's what keeps her coming back. That's where obsession begins, not in your presence, but in the moments she realizes she misses it. That emotional tension from pulling away doesn't just create curiosity, it creates an echo that keeps playing in her mind long after you're gone. That's when she starts replaying your words, scanning her phone more often, waiting for your name to appear. She's not just remembering the attention you gave, she's missing it, craving it, wondering when she'll feel that same energy again. And here's the truth. Attention loses all value when it's always there. It only becomes meaningful when it feels earned, rare, and just a little unpredictable. When your presence feels like a reward, not a routine, that's when it truly matters. You don't have to flood her with effort. You don't need to beg for her time. What you need to do is demonstrate that your time is valuable, that your energy has weight. When she gets a piece of it, she should feel like it meant something. So stop over-delivering, stop fearing the silence, stop trying to prove your worth through constant attention. Instead, give it with intention, then take it away with purpose. Let her feel the pause. Let her wonder. Let her come to you. Because once she starts chasing your attention, you're no longer just another guy who likes her, you're the one she can't stop thinking about. And here's the uncomfortable truth no one likes to say out loud. Women don't fall for the man who hands them everything. They fall for the one they can't quite fully have. That's where obsession lives, in the uncertainty, the imbalance, the emotional tug-of-war where she's not quite sure if she's winning you or losing you. That's the fire that keeps her invested. It's not about how generous or sweet you are. It's about how much effort she feels she has to give to earn your attention. And let's be clear, this isn't about manipulation. It's about understanding female psychology, the kind of truth that no one teaches you. You were trained to lead with love, but no one showed you how to lead with power. That's why you get ghosted, ignored, or pushed acid, not because you weren't enough, but because you were too easy to read, too emotionally available, too predictable. So here's a game changer. Number 8, reward her with silence. This one most men never see coming. Silence isn't just a lack of sound, it's a signal, a move, a powerful shift that, when used intentionally, becomes one of your most effective tools of attraction. Most guys panic in silence. The moment a woman goes quiet, responds dry, or seems distant, they lose composure. They text again, they chase, they start explaining themselves or asking what's wrong. That reaction is what kills desire. But a man who knows his worth doesn't move like that. He doesn't panic. He lets the silence sit. He breathes through it. He doesn't need to fill every gap with reassurance or validation. And that's what sets him apart. When used correctly, silence isn't punishment. It's not avoidance or immaturity. It's presence without noise. It's restraint. And for a woman who's used to attention, who expects constant validation, this kind of silence hits her like a wave. It creates a shift in emotional power that she can feel. Suddenly, she's not sure what you're thinking. She's not sure where she stands, and that uncertainty makes her lean in harder. Again, let's be clear, this is not the silent treatment. That's emotional manipulation. What we're talking about is intentional silence, created from a place of grounded purpose. It's a moment that says, I don't owe you a reaction. I don't need to prove anything. I know who I am. And here's the key. This silence only works if it follows presence. You can't be distant from the start. You have to first show up with warmth, attention, and real connection. She has to feel seen and valued. Then, when you step back, the contrast becomes undeniable. The silence becomes a statement and a reward. When you've already given her warmth, insight, and genuine presence, and then you suddenly go quiet, that silence doesn't fade into the background, it crashes like thunder after lightning. It lands because your presence meant something. That's the key. If you were cold and emotionally distant from the beginning, your silence would mean nothing. But if you've been present, attentive, and made her feel centrally seen, and then you step back, that absence begins to echo. It stirs her thoughts, makes her wonder, and drives her to reach out. And when she does, don't rush in. Don't break the moment by leaping to respond. Instead, let the silence do its job. Let her sit in that space. Because in that space, she begins to assign meaning to your attention. It becomes something she associates with value, not something she expects automatically. It's not cheap. It's not constant. It's something she now realizes must be earned. And that's the shift. In a world obsessed with constant messaging, likes, replies, and instant validation, the man who resists that urge, the man who doesn't speak just to fill space, becomes a rare figure. He becomes valuable in a way that words alone can't create. In the psychology of attraction, what's rare becomes desired. This is stoicism in real life. You're not going silent because you're afraid. You're not avoiding. You're steady, unmoved, grounded. You choose stillness over reaction. You choose clarity over noise. And that emotional self-control, it's magnetic. But how do you apply this in a way that doesn't feel cold or detached? It's simple. You don't go silent to punish. You don't ghost her or withdraw to make her anxious. You step back to center yourself. You hold space. You let things breathe. Your silence isn't confusion, it's intention, a pause with presence. And that, more than anything, creates emotional pull. If she's leaning in again, feeling uncertain, and wanting to reconnect, it means she's not just casually entertained by you anymore, she's emotionally engaged. That's where you want her. But none of this works if you haven't made an impact first. You must be seen, felt, remembered. You must build a connection before you step back. Presence must come before absence. So be the man who knows when to speak and when to say nothing. Be the man who isn't constantly seeking her eyes, her attention, her validation. Let there be moments when you don't chase. When your voice is absent, when your energy isn't immediately available, she'll feel something no compliment ever triggered. That inner whisper, wait, I don't own his attention, will echo. And that's when she wants it even more. If you've ever found yourself explaining too much, apologizing too often, talking when silence would have had more impact, try this. Pull back. Hold your frame. Say less. Let the silence speak for you. You'll discover that what once felt like a weakness becomes your greatest strength. If that hits home for you, drop it in the comments right now. My silence has weight. And if you're starting to sense what this series is really about, not gimmicks, not manipulation, but real transformation, then don't wait. Subscribe now, because what's coming next will show you how to break the rules without losing yourself. Stay grounded, stay sharp, stay silent. Now let's move forward. Number 9, break her patterns gently. This is something most men never notice until it's already too late. You see, women don't just live in daily habits. They move through emotional pattern scripts they've rehearsed for years. These scripts guide how they expect people to respond, how attention unfolds, how connection is supposed to build. And the men who follow those scripts too perfectly, they disappear into the background. So when she starts falling into old patterns, the same emotional scripts she's used on other men, and you don't react the way she expects, something shifts. You don't just join the list of forgettable guys. You break the cycle. And suddenly, you become the one she can't stop thinking about. Why? Because you didn't play your part. You didn't feed the script she already knew by heart. Instead, you gave her something unpredictable, something that confused her logic but captivated her emotionally. That's how obsession begins, not with force, not with noise, but with a subtle disruption of what she thought would happen. Picture this. She's used to validation for her looks. She posts a selfie, and instantly, the hearts start rolling in. Comments pour down, a few DMs here and there. It's a predictable dopamine rush. Now, you enter the picture. She assumes you'll fall in line, like it, comment on it, maybe throw a flirty message her way. But you don't. Instead, you hold back online and respond differently. Maybe you don't mention the photo at all. Maybe you message her privately about something deeper, her perspective, a thought she shared, her taste in music or books. Something that caught your eye, not her face. And just like that, her expectations fall apart. Her pattern breaks. She starts thinking, why didn't he mention my photo? Why is he different? And that confusion, that quiet disruption, it triggers emotional tension. Most guys think they have to be bold, flashy, aggressive to stand out. But those moves are just another version of predictability. Real power is quiet. Real influence doesn't need noise. You don't reject her patterns. You simply reroute them. Let's say she starts testing you, maybe she flirts with other guys in front of you, drops a passive-aggressive comment, or pulls back just to see if you'll chase. Most men panic. They try harder. They explain themselves. They give more, but not you. You smile with calm confidence and say something like, "Ah, testing me, huh? Cute." Then move on. No drama, no defense. Just composed presence. Now she's confused but fascinated. Her emotional playbook didn't work, and people are endlessly drawn to what they can't categorize. This is the foundation of Stoicism in practice. You stay centered. You're unmoved by games or emotional bait. And that's rare. That's magnetic. You're not rejecting her as a person. You're simply refusing to dance to the music she's always played. And that quiet refusal creates curiosity, not conflict. It's where the deeper connection starts to form, not in dominance or submission, but in balance, in maturity, in energy leadership. The kind she hasn't experienced before. The kind she didn't know she craved. But here's the critical part: it has to be gentle. This isn't about breaking her down. You're not here to humble her or win points. You're here to lead the energy in the room without controlling it. You're creating friction in just the right places. Maybe you offer a compliment when she least expects it. Maybe you go quiet when she expects a reaction. Maybe you show warmth in moments where most would stay cold. Each move whispers, "I'm not here to react, I'm here to guide." And whether she says it out loud or not, that presence with backbone, that makes an unforgettable impression. So next time you feel her slipping into a predictable pattern, don't meet it head on. Don't mock it. Don't fuel it. Just pivot gently, shift the rhythm, and let her feel what it's like to be with a man who isn't just emotionally stable, but emotionally wise. That's what leaves a lasting mark. That's what turns interest into obsession. Once you've mastered the art of redirecting her emotional patterns with subtle presence, the next step is something even more profound. It's the ability to stay unshaken no matter how intense the moment becomes. This is where you stop being a character in her story and start becoming the one who rewrites the entire script. You're not just reacting anymore, you're leading. And if up until now you've always been the guy who followed her rhythm, who adjusted to her mood, then this is your wake-up call. It's time to shift. Start with small moves. Break the pattern gently, but never slip back into the old emotional routine again. And if that resonates with you, if that truth clicks in your chest, type this in the comments. I rewrite the frame. Because if you're still here, still listening, still absorbing this message, then deep down you already know you're not meant to be average. Hit subscribe, because what comes next will teach you how to build an emotional presence so powerful she won't even realize she's falling until it's too late. Now, let's keep going. Number 10, stay emotionally untouchable. This one separates men who are unforgettable from those who fade into memory. Emotional untouchability, it might sound cold, but it's the opposite. It's not about shutting down, building walls, or pretending you don't care. That's not power. That's fear dressed in tough skin. What we're talking about here is something deeper. Something magnetic: your ability to stay centered, no matter what emotional wave hits you. See, the average man is reactive. He rides emotional highs and lows like a leaf tossed in the wind. She flirts, he lights up. She goes cold, he spirals. She pulls away, he panics. She shows interest again, he clings. It's a never-ending cycle. And here's the secret to men feel it. In fact, many test for it. Consciously or not, they push and pull just to see what happens. Why? Because they want to feel something solid, something grounded, someone who won't tip over just because the weather changed. When you're emotionally moved by every flicker of her behavior, you're not a man. You're a puppet. But when you're emotionally untouchable, that's when you become dangerous in the most magnetic way imaginable. Imagine this. She flirts. You smile, but you stay composed. She pulls back. You don't chase. She throws out a jealous comment or tries to stir your emotions. You notice it, even name it in your mind, but you don't react. You don't rise to the bait. That stillness, that refusal to jump into emotional ping-pong leaves her fascinated. Why? Because you've stepped outside the game. You're not here to win her approval. You're here because you've mastered your own state of mind. And that is rare. That is power. Stoicism teaches us this. We are not our emotions. We are the observers behind them. We don't deny what we feel. We just don't let feelings run the show. That's what it means to be emotionally untouchable. It's stillness wrapped in strength. And when a woman encounters a man like that, she feels it instantly. It's in his eyes, calm, direct, steady. It's in his energy, quiet but certain. He doesn't speak quickly because he doesn't need to. He doesn't act out of fear because he isn't trying to impress anyone. He listens, he holds presence, and his emotional center remains untouched. That presence, it doesn't just attract her, it mesmerizes her. And once she feels that depth, she won't want to let go. That kind of presence, the calm that stays even when tested naturally, pulls her in. Not just physically, but emotionally. Because every other guy, he panics the moment she pulls back. He over-explains, over-texts, begs for reassurance, and spirals into self-doubt. But the emotionally untouchable man, he doesn't need clarity from her, he already has it within himself. And that inner steadiness, that's a different level entirely. That's rare air. So how do you build that kind of grounded power? Start here. First, pause before reacting. Whenever you feel the urge to reply immediately, resist. When she sends a passive-aggressive comment or gives a cold shoulder, feel it but don't flinch. Let stillness be your first language. Second, detach your self-worth from her responses. Whether she praises you or ignores you, flatters you or criticizes you, your emotional state remains steady. This doesn't mean you tolerate disrespect. It means you don't rely on her approval to feel centered. That is the kind of strength that makes her curious. That's what she starts craving. And third, build your emotional foundation on something far bigger than romance. Whether it's your discipline, your mission, your values, or your inner peacelet that be your source. When your emotional world is shaped by the man you've chosen to become, not by someone else's attention or absence, you step into a power that can't be shaken. Let her wonder what drives you. Let her guess what you're thinking. Let her test your edges and fail to break your balance. That's when she knows she's not dealing with a boy reacting to life. She's dealing with a man who commands his emotional world. And here's the truth. When you become emotionally untouchable, you won't attract more drama. You'll attract peace. You'll attract women who want stillness, who respect self-mastery, who feel safe in your unshakable presence. That's where real power lives. So, if you've ever found yourself giving too much, feeling too fast, or falling into emotional spirals that leave you drained, this is your moment to shift. Build the frame, hold it, live it, and soon you'll understand something most men never will. It's not your words or even your feelings that make her obsessed. It's what you don't react to. If that truth resonated with something deep inside you, type this in the comments. My emotions serve me. Because now you've got them, the 10 psychological shifts that don't just make you more attractive, they make you unshakable. But before we end, let me say this. These aren't just tricks. This isn't a playbook for manipulation. These are principles. They're not about playing a role. They're about becoming a man who doesn't need games to feel powerful. Because real power isn't loud. It doesn't chase. It's embodied. Every time you hold silence when others rush to speak, every time you break the old pattern with grace, every moment you stay calm when others would fold, that's not just about attracting women. That's about building a version of you that commands respect without ever raising your voice. And if even one part of this video hit home, if something clicked, then you already know what to do. Subscribe, not just because we drop content daily. Subscribe because this isn't just a channel, it's a space for men like you. Men who are done chasing, done performing, done apologizing for their strength. This is for those who are ready to lead from the inside out. Thank you for spending this time with me. I see you, and I'll see you again tomorrow. Until then, stay grounded, stay sharp, stay untouchable.